And there we go, we're live. Everything's acting a little slower than usual today. This is half the fun of video broadcast. Something has to go a little strangely. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. Our classes today do not need me to tell you this because you guys have been in so many this year. But if you are joining us for the first time, perhaps on YouTube, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And this has been an incredible month. So biodiversity is always our theme in May, and we have been going full steam ahead with our amazing Global Biodiversity Festival. If you didn't get the chance to check this out, all these programs are on our YouTube channel, 60 sessions over 3 amazing days, all to raise money for conservation. Check out some of the coolest speakers we have ever had on the broadcast. For those who might not know too, we are doing our Backyard Bio Global Nature campaign. So you've got a few days left, and you can keep this going throughout the summer if you're keen as well. But get outside, take pictures of local wildlife, sketch what you see, and share it with people. I love going in the park behind my house. I find so many amazing creatures every time I go there. And honestly, my favorite joy in the world is telling people all about what I've discovered. Today, I saw an oriole, which is one of the coolest birds in the entire world. So if you get a chance to go find your own orioles, I hope you take that opportunity at the end. Now, we are going to dive in today with Friends of the Rainforest, a group that epitomizes all the things that we try and share here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. Jamie is going to be joining us again to talk about their incredible education and conservation work, and really just sharing the story of one of the most incredible, beautiful regions on this planet. We've got a special guest joining us for our Q&A. We are going to have a Kahoot quiz as well at the end of the broadcast. So if you want to pull up this game pin, get ready, everybody. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie and her awesome presentation to take us on a journey into the rainforest. Jamie, thank you so much for having us today, and take us away.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be back. If you have joined us before, you know we're in for a treat. And if you're joining us for the first time, thanks for being here. My name is Jamie. I work with an organization called Friends of the Rainforest. Jesse hinted I'm going to be joined by a special guest for the Q&A. My colleague Lindsay, who is in Costa Rica in the rainforest, will be joining us for the Q&A portion. But we have a short amount of time together. So here are some of the guiding questions that are going to frame our time together. We're going to talk about how and why did kids protect the rainforest. The Children's Eternal Rainforest Preserve has a pretty amazing backstory. We're going to talk about how does rainforest recover from a disturbance, and what are some examples of disturbances? When a forest recovers, what animals might we expect to return? And then what work can you do in your own communities to help save the rainforest? So Friends of the Rainforest works to educate students and adults about the Children's Eternal Rainforest, which is a preserve in Costa Rica. We raise money for students to go and visit the rainforest and stay in the field stations and study rainforest ecology. And then we try to inspire people wherever they are in the world to take action within their own communities to protect this incredibly biodiverse ecosystem. So how and why did kids protect the rainforest? The Children's Eternal Rainforest was started in the 1980s, so around maybe the time that some of the adults in your lives were born, by students in second grade in Sweden. They were learning about the rainforest and all the incredible habitats and animals there, and they were learning about some of the threats to those spaces, particularly deforestation and deforestation on a really big scale. And they were feeling inspired to do something to protect the animals that live there. So they had a fundraiser, and they actually raised enough money to buy a little piece of land in the rainforest. And when they bought that land, they created some rules for it. So much like if you've ever been to a park, you know that you cannot cut down a tree in the park and take it out of there. You cannot take a wild animal out of that park. Well, the same kinds of rules apply for a protected area in the rainforest. So it's a protected space that exists just as it is for the plants and animals there. And word spread about what these kids had done, because it's a pretty incredible accomplishment. And they were joined by students in classrooms in 44 countries across the world. So it became this global collaboration to grow this rainforest. Now, the Children's Eternal Rainforest is home to more than 7 different life zones. So that's different habitats by altitude, and it's over 56,000 acres. So it's absolutely massive. You could get lost in there. And it's a place where students and scientists can work together. So even if you've never been to the rainforest, never intend to go, we interact with them every single day, from the foods that we eat, to chemicals that make medicines, to the materials that make rubber and oils and gums and dyes. And then a big one is clean air to breathe. So about 50%, so about half of the oxygen that's released into the atmosphere that we breathe was released in the atmosphere by plants in the rainforest. So all of this is so critical to not only the animals and plant survival in the rainforest, but our survival as well. We talked about what an incredibly biodiverse space this is. That means lots of different plants and animals are sharing space. And there's an incredible diversity of habitats. So as you move up in altitude, different climate factors affect what can grow and live there. So I have a very small map. I realize there's a lot of colors, a lot of very small text, but I would just want you to notice how many different zones there are. These are all different types of habitats that are available to animals and plants. In addition, we can classify habitats when you're looking out at the rainforest, we can classify them vertically, and that helps describe different spaces that animals may live. So on the bottom, we have the forest floor. That refers to things on the ground, in the ground. So insects, big predators that are prowling the forest floor, are decomposers. Then we have the understory. That refers to bushes and shrubs, things about our height. You have a lot of flowering plants in the understory, so lots of pollinators, butterflies, hummingbirds. And then moving up, we have the canopy layer, which refers to the branches of the trees. And then the emergent layer is the very tippy tops of trees and then emerging into the sky above. So different animals might live in different spaces vertically. And these are ways that we can name their habitats. So how does the rainforest recover from disturbance? First, let's talk about that word disturbance. There are lots of different types of disturbances, big or small, and they happen all the time in ecology. That some are natural, like floods, tornadoes, and high wind, and wildfires. All of those things are natural. Those happen all the time, and the forest can recover. Some are human inflicted, like deforestation, removing of trees, especially on a very big scale. Ecosystems are never fully stable. They are dynamic, and change is a good thing. Small disturbances can create opportunities for new ecological niches and more biodiversity, which builds resilience. And large-scale change can also really upset the balance of an ecosystem. So I wanted to highlight, I talked about how the rainforest is always growing. We're always adding more land to it. This is the most recent land acquisition. It was a small farm, a small cattle farm that was recently purchased and added to the preserve. So it's surrounded on 3 sides by the protected forest. So this is kind of like filling in a little puzzle piece of the forest. This was a small family farm, and the farmer just got too old to care for this property, and so he sold it to the rainforest. And because of the climate in this space and the proximity to a really mature forest all around here, means that these pastures, the areas where trees had been removed to make space for cattle, are going to be able to regenerate and recover very quickly. And at the same time, open space can be really beneficial for plants and animals, as well as scientists. Different species are going to kind of start to colonize this open space here. And an open space also means that scientists have more of an open view for like birding. So here's a picture of it on the ground, and you can see kind of the pasture and then the forest in the background. So when the rainforest recovers itself, it kind of goes through a couple of different steps. So first, we're going to see some pioneer species or gap specialists. They specialize in growing in the gaps in the forest. Things like the Cecropia tree or the Borneo, which have big kind of umbrella-like leaves that can capture a lot of sun. A lot of plants in the rainforest are adapted to grow in the shade because there's so much canopy cover. The leaves block so much sunlight that the forest floor is often very, very shady. These species, the Cecropia and the Borneo and other kind of fast-growing, light-loving plants, are the first to grow back in areas where there isn't already shade. And then some understory flowering plants, like plants in the melastome family. So these are kind of some flowering shrubs. So after we have our kind of first wave of pioneer species, then we're going to start to have more shade-tolerant plants, and some slower growing trees will start to kind of fill in. So things like this is a wild avocado tree. And you see that kind of flash of bright green in there is actually, that's not part of the avocado tree, that's part of a quetzal wing. And quetzals are a type of endangered bird that rely on wild avocados as their food. And then some other like evergreen tropical flowering plants will kind of start to fill in as the forest kind of grows back into what's called a secondary forest. So the primary forest refers to the forest before it was disturbed. As it grows back, we now have a secondary forest. So there's going to be different species that make up the understory and the canopy than there was in the primary forest. This stage kind of encompasses the 5 to 50-year-old range. So in 5 to 50 years old, the forest is going to change a lot. A 5-year-old forest is going to look so different than a 50-plus-year-old forest. Eventually, though, as species start to come in, animals will start to come in and will eventually reach a climax community. That means going back to kind of the biodiversity that we saw before. So when a forest recovers, what animals will return? One animal that we expect to see back in that kind of farm space that's recovering is the bare-necked umbrella bird. It is endangered and it is endemic to Costa Rica and Panama. That means that it's only found in Costa Rica and Panama. The females are a little over a foot tall, males are a little bit taller, and they live in the canopy, so the branches, and then the understory, the upper understory, so kind of the taller parts of that shrubby undergrowth. They eat mostly fruit and berries, but they also eat insects and larvae and lizards and frogs. And something that I did not mention when I was talking through those stages of forest recovery, and that we'll kind of get to with some of these animals, is that animals play a really important role in reseeding the forest. So different ways that seeds are dispersed to regrow forest are through bird poop. Birds digest their food really fast, and it moves through their system so fast that often the seeds that come out are not digested and they can start growing right where they land. And bats and other animals may also reseed the forest through their poop. Some seeds are designed to kind of cling to mammal fur. So as a mammal brushes past a plant, they can catch some seeds on their fur, and then they fall off kind of as they travel through the forest. And then other seeds are designed to disperse through wind. So if you've ever blown a dandelion and watched the kind of little umbrella, little fluffies, they float a long distance because they're designed to spread out that way. So the bare-necked umbrella bird needs large areas of primary forest or tall secondary forest because it relies on the animals that the plants that grow in those spaces. My cat just came into the room, so apologies for any little noises you hear in the background. So this is the bare-necked umbrella bird, and this video was taken by somebody who was visiting the Children's Eternal Rainforest. So I'm going to play it, and I'm going to play it with some sound. You'll hear some sounds from other birds nearby. So this is a male, you could tell because he's got this like bright red skin sac. So when he's trying to mate or attract a female bird, he'll gather in groups of about 4 or so and spread out within the canopy, the branches of the trees, and they'll inflate that skin sac really big, and they'll make a really strange sound that sounds kind of like if you've ever blown air across a glass bottle, it makes kind of a low sound like, ooh. It's a very strange sound to hear from a bird. And there he goes. So another animal that we'll expect to see back in this, there we go, giving you spoilers, that we'll expect to see back in this space is the Joffrey spider monkey. So these guys live in the canopy and emergent layers, so the upper parts of the trees. They eat mostly fruit, but they'll also eat leaves, flowers, insects, spiders, seeds, and nuts. They often swallow the seeds of the fruit that they're eating, and their digestive system works really fast. So it goes in and out of their system, and they poop it out. It's not been digested, so it can grow often right where it lands. This makes them really great seed dispersers, so they help reseed the forest, much like birds and bats do. They also will carry larger seeds like avocado seeds and then kind of drop them along as they move through the forest. They have a prehensile tail, which means it can kind of wrap over the limbs and it helps them climb through the trees. They have kind of this like palm-like padding on the base of their tail, which helps them to feel and grip the branches. Their arms are longer than their legs, which makes them really good for swinging from branch to branch. And their thumbs, they have thumbs, but they're barely visible. They're super small because they just get in the way if they were climbing. They will scent mark with feces. That means poop, and urine. That means pee. So they can kind of identify who's been there. And then at times, the adults will stretch their bodies out if there's a gap in the branches that their babies are not able to cross because they're too small. The adults will kind of form a little monkey bridge so that their babies can walk across and get to the other side safely. So 2 species of frogs that I wanted to highlight. Both of these frogs were thought to be extinct, and then they were discovered again really close to this farm property that's recovering in the Children's Eternal Rainforest. So we have the green-eyed frog has a population that's kind of breeding in a swamp nearby. And then this starret's tree frog has a population in a nearby stream. So this really speaks to the importance of having areas of forest that are continuous. If there are gaps in the forest, then we may not have found these species again. Next, we have the Bard's tapir. This is Costa Rica's largest mammal. It can grow as big as 550 pounds. They are an herbivore. They're vegetarian, so they eat mostly plants in the understory, so things about their height. They eat a lot of fruit in the summertime, like when it's seasonally available. And they need large areas of intact forest as their habitat, and then also access to fresh water, not only for drinking, but also because they prefer to poop in the water. They are endangered. So again, really critical for these animals that they have large areas of continuous forest. Last but not least, we have the jaguar. The jaguar hunts mostly on the forest floor, but can also swim and climb. It's a carnivore, so it eats meat. It eats really anything bigger than 1 or 2 pounds. So in Costa Rica, this means sloths, peccaries, which look like kind of a wild pig, sea turtles, and things like that. The way that they pounce on their prey breaks the prey's neck so that they're able to kind of kill it instantly. And their jaws are strong enough to crush skulls of their prey and even the shells of small sea turtles. They'll also eat larger sea turtles. Like they've been known to eat a green sea turtle as big as 450 pounds. And that, of course, takes them several days. And so they'll drag their big prey off into a spot in the woods where they can continue to come back and munch on it throughout the coming days. So here is a video that was taken with a motion-activated camera. We call them camera traps. This is near the Pocoso Field Station in the Children's Eternal Rainforest. And so keep your eye on the side of the screen. Okay, so you notice this jaguar doesn't seem to notice the camera. Some animals will notice the camera traps and others won't. This one didn't really seem to care. Here we go again. So the big ideas here are that forests do regenerate naturally if we give them the time and the space. Seed dispersal is often helped by animals in the way that animals redistribute seeds. Different animals require different types of habitats, but a lot of endangered animals in Costa Rica rely on large areas of intact primary forest. That is the habitat and the food source that they are adapted to. And when that is removed, they don't do so well. But the good news is that Costa Rica and the Children's Eternal Rainforest are living proof that habitats and animal populations can recover. So this is a map that I love to show at the end of presentations because it signifies a lot of hope for me. So here is a map of forest cover in Costa Rica over time. In about 1940, we see it kind of when it was first starting to be measured, 75% forest cover. We see a slow decline as there's more deforestation, cutting down of trees to make space for development and farming. And then we kind of see a turning point here between the late 80s and mid 90s where forest is starting to be replanted. So this is all kinds of forest cover, rainforests, and other types of habitats. And now we're back to more than half of Costa Rica is covered by forest habitat. So how can you work to save the rainforest? And what can you do to continue the work that was started by kiddos, a generation before you? Continue to educate yourself and your community about the amazing plants and animals that live here. We can only protect what we know, and we can only love what we know about. Engage in local sustainable action, things like recycling, supporting your local farmers. All of those things do have global impact. You can advocate for protected land and animals through writing. I will also share that Friends of the Rainforest does love to publish student writing work. So if there's something that you would like to share with our audiences, please reach out to us through our website. And then staying optimistic and focused on the future. So I just wanted to give thanks to some of these folks and acknowledge some photos. And now I'd love to introduce my colleague, Lindsay.
Fantastic. Wow. Jamie, as you come out of screen share, we'll bring in Lindsay to say a quick hello. And we're going to dive with our Kahoot before our big questions. But Lindsay, welcome in the Children of the Eternal Rainforest. So nice to have you here today.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Oh, what a special story. What a special program today. And honestly, it's one of my favorite charts we bring up in any of our broadcasts is the story of hope of forest regeneration in Costa Rica. It's so special to see it play out like that, where in a not long period of time, you guys have brought back 30% of forest in the entire country. That's really, it's like the iconic story of ecosystem regeneration in the world. And every time we get the chance to highlight it, it's so wonderful. But Jamie, Lindsay, what I want to do before we dive into Q&A, take some of those questions from kids, is dive in with our Kahoot. We've already got 73 kids signed up for this across our classroom. So if you are on YouTube, you want to join, our game pin today is 2361951. Now you don't win anything, but you do win our everlasting respect. Lindsay, Jamie, and I will give you like a standing ovation at the end of the Kahoot, okay? And there's the cat we were promised as well. Very exciting. For anyone who's new to Kahoots, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And in the final seconds of each Kahoot, if you want to chime in and help us out with an answer, Lindsay and Jamie, you are welcome to do so. But let's dive in, and anyone else can join us after we've gotten started. Then we'll dive in with all our questions. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Our countdown for question 1. True or false? Rainforests can regenerate themselves after a disturbance. I hope everybody gets this right. You have an inordinate amount of time to nail this. And if you did not take this away from the presentation, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I hope so. We got 8 so far, 65 answers, 6 more seconds. Way to go. Almost everybody's in. All right, 3, 2, 1. What a nice picture of a rainforest, too. I'm going to pat myself on the back for choosing that one. 89, you got this right. 90+%. That's very good. The answer is correct. Yes, it is. Way to go. Okay. One down. Smart Dragon has our lead. I must say mystery boa is our most tropical animal. It's currently on our leaderboard there, so I wish you well. Very close. Second question. Bareneck umbrella birds make a sound. Sounds like what? Now, ignore my picture, or maybe don't. I don't know. I like to mess with you. Lawnmower. Did you press lawnmower really fast as you saw a lawnmower? A low growl, so high-pitched humans can't hear it, or blowing air over the top of a glass bottle. Jamie did say this. We had our umbrella bird picture. Most of you got this right. Blowing air over the top of a glass bottle. Way to go. Okay. Smart Dragon. Oh, Shining Squid has now taken our lead. And Mystery Boa, who I'm kind of rooting for, has now come into second. I'm rooting for all of you. Don't take it personally. What is not true about our spider monkey? Lindsay, Jamie, we're going to help them out. Do they not use their tails like a fifth limb? Do they not scent mark using urine and feces? Do they not hate fruit? Do they not disperse seeds to their poo? We got a lot of poo stuff going on in this. It's very exciting. Every time we do Costa Rica, we do baby sloths in Costa Rica. It's a very poo-based broadcast usually. They hate fruit. They don't hate fruit. They love fruit. I love fruit. They love fruit. A lot of fruit love going on. Most of you got that right. Way to go. Okay, one more question. One more. Smart Dragon back in the lead just to thwart me. Okay, a final true or false question. 2 species of frogs, thought extinct, were discovered in the children's eternal rainforest. Now, we literally had a slide about this again, just like our first question. I hope you guys nail this. And then you can put your thinking caps on for our questions. 50 answers so far. Get those answers in. Ah, so much fun. 8 more seconds. Not this frog. This is just a fake frog that I found on Kahoot. He looks very happy, I think. All right, 1 more second. 126 of you. It's like a huge good true. Way to go. Okay. Lindsay, Jamie, here's our leaderboard. And then we're going to dive in with questions from all our classes. Live groups, get those questions ready. YouTube groups, you're already starting to share. Mystery Bow in 3rd. Daring Hen in 2nd. And first, for all the marbles by like 18 points. Was it Smart Dragon? Smart Dragon almost won wire to wire, which is pretty exciting. So way to go, Smart Dragon. You killed it. I'm impressed. If you are Smart Dragon, let us know who you are. Let's head to Miss Champagne's class. Miss Champagne's class is joining us today in Ottawa, grade 6. If you guys want to kick us off with a question, welcome to the program. Hey. Now, do we have a question? Come on up. Yes. And I think your audio is working.
Do I say that? Yeah. Go ahead. You can go in front of the camera. Okay. Hi. Was there a point that we had 100% of the forests in Costa Rica?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Jamie, do you want me to tackle that question?
I was wondering if she was meaning 100% forest cover, but I mean,
no, I think like was the whole country ever forested? Like, was it ever 100% all forest in Costa Rica, or was like that 74 and 1940 like the baseline, or was there more before that at some point?
Well, no area is entirely covered in forest. There are a diversity of ecosystems anywhere you go, but as far as the peak forest cover, Lindsay, maybe you could speak more to that.
Yeah, no problem. So all over the world, this is true that, first of all, what Jamie said, there's not ever 100% forest everywhere. And that could be true even if there were not people present, because there are natural things that cause the forest to not be there, which could be a landslide, which could be a volcano eruption. Costa Rica has a lot of active volcanoes. And then there have been people living in Costa Rica for thousands and thousands of years, beginning with indigenous people and European settlers in Costa Rica starting in the 1600s or 1500s or so. So anywhere that there's people, there always will be some kind of impact on the forest where people are growing crops or doing different activities that take out the forest. So I think the baseline or the beginning image in that map that we showed shows you how much forest there was since the time when people started to keep track of it. But before that, there was undoubtedly a lot more forest.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing too worth noting is that no ecosystem is entirely one type of thing either. Our students in the Ottawa region, there are wetlands there, there's bare rock, there's forested areas, and so you'll have these different ecosystems. Costa Rica is right in the middle of a very tropical zone, so it would have the inclination to be a rainforest type ecosystem. But I think that's a really neat question. Fantastic, guys.
That's a good question.
All right, Mr. Shattuck's class, Chalk River, Ontario, come on in, guys.
What is your best part of your job?
The best part of your job. Okay, I'm going to bring Lindsay and Jamie. You can both answer this one. Favorite
well, Lindsay and I have very different jobs.
Yep.
I actually work out of the St. Louis area in Missouri, and my job is mostly visiting schools and talking about this incredible ecosystem and this incredible forest preserve. And so I love just how many different groups of kiddos that I get to interact with. And all of the joy and energy that they bring into this kind of work. And Lindsay?
Yeah.
All right. So my job, I live in Costa Rica, and my job is to be in charge of all of the staff and all of the operations taking care of the children's eternal rainforest. Right. And I spend a lot of time in the office. But my favorite part of my job is when I get to go to the forest to do research or to participate in different activities. And I also really love when I get to talk to student groups.
See, this is what we get in a lot of our programs, is that like the people's favorite part of their job is literally doing what we're doing in the session, in which case We're so happy to have you and so excited to give you this fun time. Miss Harper's class, a virtual school, grade 4s in London. Welcome in.
Hello. Following up with that question, my friend Lincoln wanted to know what made you choose this career, and kind of following along with that. And following up with that, could students who are interested in doing rainforest conservation as a career, what courses and things should they be taking?
All right.
You want to go first?
Sure. So I would say that if you're interested in the rainforest or any type of forest and conservation, the best thing you can do is to learn as much as you can. And a really good way to continue learning is to get involved, whether that is to physically go out and hike in the forest. If you don't have an opportunity to visit the rainforest right now, you can learn about it and tell other people about it. I personally studied biology. And I have done a lot of things before I had this job, but I continued to try different things and try to stay involved in activities and subjects that I was interested in. And that's how I ended up here.
Nice.
Yeah. Lindsay kind of came at this from the biology and conservation angle, and I came at this job through the education angle. And I will just say that very few people's career paths are linear. So Lindsay did a lot of things before getting into her job. I did a lot of things before getting into this one. So I always knew that I wanted to teach in some kind of way. And then through my schooling, I was exposed to a lot of environmental science. Then at first, I grew up in the Washington State area, and I was doing a lot of oceanography. And so that was kind of my first love of environmental science. And then it just kind of continued to broaden from there. And so I've gotten the opportunity to teach in the woods and on old sailboats, and now here with a rainforest conservation organization. So, and everyone has taught me so much and given me an opportunity to engage with different groups.
Fantastic answer, ladies. Thank you for that. Let's head to Milton, Viola Desmond, Miss Lou's class. Welcome in, guys. Hello.
What type of animal at the rainforest migrate?
What type of animals at the rainforest migrate? What was the last word?
Migrate.
I still didn't catch it. I'm so sorry. Did you guys catch it?
What type of animal in the rainforest migrate?
Oh, just migrate in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, one thing that I've been talking to a lot of student groups, especially this spring, about is ruby-throated hummingbirds. So in one of the lessons that I teach in schools around the St. Louis area, we're looking at bird beaks and how different birds have different diets, and their beak shapes allow them to catch and eat different types of foods. And included in that lesson, we talk about ruby-throated hummingbirds. And ruby-throated hummingbirds are a migratory species that will spend kind of the winter months in Central and in Mexico and Central America, and kind of as far south as the rainforest in Costa Rica. And then they'll migrate up kind of through the Midwest and then into parts of southern Canada. So I think many of us actually on this call right now are in areas where we're going to start seeing ruby-throated hummingbirds. And something that I learned actually since working with this group is that while many migratory birds flock, with a large group of birds, hummingbirds make that journey all by themselves. So that's, 2,000 miles, depending on where they're starting at entry places. That's wild.
Something this big, which is crazy. I think all of our classes today are in the region of them. I certainly have them in Southern Ontario, and they're one of the most beautiful, wonderful birds you can have at your feeder or in your backyard. Lindsay, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in really quick. I think the migratory question, a lot of us think of birds as being migratory species, and that is definitely true. And there are many birds that migrate south for the winter or north for the summer, depending on where you're coming from. We also have species that migrate within Costa Rica, which is something that we may not think about. And they migrate up and down the mountain, depending on the time of year. And so we have birds like the quetzal and other birds that will follow their food, the wild avocados, up and down the hill. As different trees have food, the birds follow it. But there's also insects. A lot of butterflies and moths have an altitudinal migration, so an up and down the mountain migration as well, which is something that we don't always think about.
Very, very cool. My favorite thing whenever we talk about migration is to note that the biggest one on Earth happens every single day, and it's creatures from the lower down in the ocean that come up to the surface to feed at night. So again, it's something that very few people actually consider, but it's quite an incredible, magical thing to happen in the natural world. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Lindsay. We're going to head to Good Shepherd, Miss Benoit's class. We'll take a few from YouTube. We're like, time flies when you're having folks. There's so many questions today. But Miss Benoit, come on in, guys. Hey.
How many animals in the rainforest are there?
How many extinct animals?
Endangered.
Endangered animals, yeah. Jamie? No pressure.
Lots, and I think if I could pass this one over to Lindsay, I think she could speak more to this.
Yeah.
No problem. So I think anytime we talk about species in the rainforest, it's important to remember that we actually don't even know how many species are in the rainforest, because many species, especially when you talk about plants and insects, haven't even been discovered or named yet. So I think that is one thing that I would say. And how many endangered species are in the rainforest in the world? I definitely don't have the answer to that question, but there are about 50 species of plants and animals and other organisms in the Monteverde area, which is where the Children's Eternal Rainforest is in Costa Rica, that are endangered or threatened or in some class where we consider them to be in danger.
Fantastic. I love that it's one of those questions that not only do you not have the answer, but nobody has the answer. Like
nobody has the answer.
You've stumped the scientist. Way to go, guys. Let's dive in with some YouTube questions, then we'll come back to as many of you live classes as possible. Really quickly, I know Chloe in Miss Hood's class wanted to know how long spider monkeys live. That was really easy to look up. 25 years certainly in captivity. In the wild, is it similar? Yes? Same sort of thing? Spider monkey longevity?
Ooh, I'm rusty on my spider monkey facts.
With the internet one, Jamie, unless you have a different answer.
We can look it up in our trusty book.
I want to make sure we get through as many questions as possible. We've got about 10 classes on YouTube, so 25 years is the very ready answer for that.
I think that's a good estimate.
Yeah, but I think also this book also only shares the lifespan in captivity. Often that's how the best way for us to observe the full lifespan of an animal.
Yeah. Typically, when animals are really well cared for, they actually tend to have longer life expectancies in captivity. In their horror zoos and aquaria, it tends to be quite a bit lower. So it really depends on the creature. But when they have regular food, they don't have to worry about predators. That can be something that just plays into that equation when you're thinking about it. Miss Hood's class, Hatboro, Pennsylvania. Lindsay, they wanted to know, can you see the rainforest from your window? And if so, can you show us? I love this question. You have like a laptop you can drag or not?
If I move my laptop, I'll lose my internet connection.
Okay, don't touch it. But
so there's a I can see the forest looking out my window. Yes.
Ooh.
And as they say, in the forest, there's no internet, but you'll have a good connection. And if I touch my internet cable to move my computer, I will lose all of you.
Okay.
So.
We'll take your word for it. We believe in the forest out the window, but I love that question. Let's see, so many questions from you guys, which is great. So Mr. Strange's class, Niagara Catholic Virtual School, they want to know how many birds, how many animals are in the rainforest, any sort of sense of the biodiversity, like how many creatures are out there when you go into the forest. Lindsay?
Well, just to give a couple of examples, it depends on which rainforest you're talking about, right? So in the Children's Eternal Rainforest, for example, we have about 450 species of birds.
Wow.
We have almost 60 species of bats. And we have all 6 species of Costa Rica's wild cats, which includes the mountain lion and the jaguar and the ocelot and a few others. Fantastic. We have more than 550 species of orchids.
Every time Costa Rica gets brought up in any of our programs, it's like this, and it's just one of the most special places on this planet. And if anyone ever gets a chance to visit or check out more of the stuff going on there, it's a really, really special place. Jamie, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say something that I talk about with students here in the St. Louis area is the tremendous biodiversity of insects as well. Like there are thousands of species of just ants. So we got to include the little creatures when we're talking about biodiversity too.
Not only do you certainly do, because they're the coolest, we've had a bunch of bug programs lately. One of my favorite things from thinking about ants in the rainforest is that an entire colony, all the ants in one colony of the smallest kind of ant in the world, can fit easily inside the head of one of the biggest ants in the world. Like, that's how diverse they are as a group, is that you have this incredible, crazy amount of diversity in how big they are, what they look like, what they do. And so anytime you get the chance in Costa Rica or anywhere around the world to take a look at those little things, you'll be absolutely amazed at what you find. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie. All right, one more question from YouTube, then we'll go back to our live classes. We might be rebels together, go a little long today. But Miss Dykstra's class, our water rockers in Guelph, want to know, are there still campaigns where classes can go to buy a piece of the rainforest in Costa Rica to help preserve it?
You want me to tackle that? Or you want to go ahead? Go for it.
I can share that that there's opportunities to donate to causes like that. So some parts of the money that we receive at Friends of the Rainforest in donations goes towards land grants for the Children's Eternal Rainforest. I know that our executive director is also kind of working to rebuild the network of organizations that was kind of helped kind of co-create this movement. And so there may be more opportunities for student-led campaigns in the future. That's something that we are working towards. Lindsay,
I guess I say the answer is definitely yes. There's always stuff that kids can do to help support the rainforest, and that can include buying new pieces of rainforest. We have areas in mind, and if people are interested in that, they can get in touch with Jamie or get in touch with me, and we can work on how to make that happen.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put up the website for all you guys. If people want to check out Friends of the Rainforest work, that is the one-stop shop to learn more and get in touch. But let's dive in with our live classes again. Folks, I know there's so many of you that are chomping at the bit for questions. Margaret, thanks for being in the chat, helping answer some of those additional YouTube questions from our last Friends of the Rainforest broadcast. But we'll do one more round with our live groups. Stick around as long as you can. Miss Champagne's back in. Oh, share that again. Your audio is a little delayed.
Hi, my name is Keegan, and my question is, why is the rainforest so important to you?
Yeah, thanks, Keegan.
All right. Well, the rainforest is important to me personally, but also should be important to everybody. And Jamie mentioned some of the reasons earlier. The rainforest gives us oxygen. It gives us water. It gives us all kinds of other things, types of foods. For example, in Costa Rica, actually water that comes from the rainforest is used to produce electricity. Cool. And I would also say the rainforest is just spectacularly beautiful, and it's home to so many thousands of species that we should protect.
In the interest of time, I think that's a great summation answer. Let's head to Mr. Shadid's class, Chalk River. If you guys have any. Hey, man.
Howdy. My question was, do you guys think that there's any other extinct, is there any other species that you think are extinct in the rainforest but might not be? And I also won the Kahoot, so if you want to say that.
Way to go, man! And you got the best hair of any student we've had on all day. So any other things extinct in the rainforest we might not know, endangered, anything we could have come back that we haven't looked for?
It was
absolutely. I wanted to give a specific example, if that's okay. So recently, Jamie showed you 2 examples of frogs that were thought to be extinct that were later found again in the Children's Eternal Rainforest. There's a toad called the golden toad, which has been extinct or thought to be extinct since around 1991. But the last place it was seen was in the Children's Eternal Rainforest in a very, very remote area, just a couple of toads. And so we actually have some people who are working to see if they can go out and find the golden toad. It's kind of a long shot because it's been more than 30 years since anyone has seen it. But if it's out there, it's in the Children's Eternal Rainforest because that toad only ever existed in this mountain range in Costa Rica. So that would be my long shot.
And me. My bags are already packed. In fact, we'll end the broadcast right there. 3 more questions, folks. Miss Harper's class coming to you first, Miss Lou, and we'll wrap up with Miss Benoit in a minute. Miss Harper, are you Good to go. I can come in a second.
Good to go. Hi, my little guy Jack is joining us. Can you say hi, Jack? Wave. Say hi. We wanted to know, our friend Reese from grade 4 wanted to know, what is the most dangerous insect or animal found in the Costa Rica website?
Ooh, rainforest. Dangerous. What's coming for you?
We talked about coral snakes on our last broadcast, which have a kind of a neurotoxin in their venom. So a bite from them would certainly be bad news.
Which is great. And I think we emphasized this in our last program too. If you respect animals, you are unlikely to ever be in a situation where you are put in harm by them. So yes, there are things that are very venomous. There are probably insects that can cause you a sting that would, render you very, very upset and sick for quite some time. But if you prepare, if you shake out your boots before you go walking in the woods, if you've left them on the forest floor, if you pay attention to where snakes might be roosting, if you don't gallivant alone, we've talked about this with regards to Jaguar before. If people go into the forest in groups, you're unlikely to ever be in a situation where that's a problem. Same with our folks here in Canada and the United States. If you go into the backcountry of British Columbia, there are things that you want to be concerned about to make sure that you're not injured by a mountain lion or a bear or wolves or what have you. And the same applies in Costa Rica. So I always love this question. And that is the essence.
I would say, like in Canada and the United States, the most annoying animal in the rainforest is the mosquito.
They certainly are. For anyone who's ever had the chance to visit a rainforest in their lives, it's quite astonishing how many bugs can come get you. But that is also true, as you said, of Canada. I think the Yukon is like the world's hub of mosquitoes, which was shocking to me. So there you go. Jamie, do you have anything to add?
No.
Cool. Miss Lou's class, and then we'll wrap up with Miss Benoit before a big thank you and farewell. Come on back in, Viola, Justin.
What's the most unique animal in the rainforest?
The most unique animal?
Yes.
No pressure. Okay. That's a tough one. The most unique animal.
I don't think that there's a specific answer to that question, because one of the coolest things about the huge amount of diversity in the rainforest is that there are animals and plants with so many different weird adaptations that you could choose any of them. So I'm going to pick the umbrella bird, which we saw the video of earlier, because not only does their call sound like someone blowing over a bottle and not like a bird at all, but the way that they mate is that about 4 males will do a dance to try to attract a female. So they have a whole group dance thing going on. And sometimes to kill their prey, they will whack it against a tree, which I learned yesterday. So, but there are so many unique animals in the rainforest.
So I just looked this up to confirm that they are in Costa Rica, and they are. I encourage our classes, when you're done, look up glass frogs, because their skin is so translucent you can see their inner organs, and it's really freaky and weird and wonderful. And they do live in the mountains there. So I don't know if they're specifically in the eternal rainforest, but they're a really, really special group of creatures. Perfect. Jamie, I just got, when I brought glass frog, I love your necklace, by the way. What is that? Is that the logo we got? That's fantastic. Oh, it's not the necklace, it's the shirt. That's what it is. It is the logo. I thought it was a That's funny.
Very large.
Very large, yeah. Guys, time flies and you're having fun. We are near the end of the broadcast, so I will make sure all our students, friendsoftherainforest.org, if you want to keep the learning going. But let's head to Miss Benoit's class to wrap us up, and then we'll say our big thank yous and farewells. Hey, Good Shepherd.
How do you get the cameras in the forest without getting bitten?
Nice. Talk about all those mosquitoes, Lindsay. What's going on?
Well, you definitely get bit by mosquitoes. So the cameras that Jamie showed the video of the Jaguar from our camera traps, and the way those work is that we attach them with a strap to a tree at about knee height, and they just hang out. The camera hangs out in the forest, and anytime an animal walks by, it gets activated to take a picture. And so they stay out for about a month, or as long as their batteries will last. And then we go out and bring back the memory card and see what we find.
It's so cool. Honestly, like, camera trap footage has become such a big thing in the last 10, 15 years. And you students are growing up in a time when this is so common to see all the footage of things in the forest and how things change over time and time lapse. None of that existed when I was a kid. And so it's absolutely mind blowing that you get the opportunity to see things like this. So thank you so much for incorporating it into the broadcast, Jamie. And for both of you, just doing such great work to conserve the rainforest, to educate the public about it. We really appreciate you joining us for, the third time this year, fourth time. Geez, you're just our most popular speakers at this point, Jamie. Way to go. Jamie's seen this in action. Lindsay, it's your first time, but what we're going to do is bring in our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. So Miss Champagne's class, Mr. Shattuck, Miss Harper, and Jack, Viola Desmond, and Good Shepherd, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.